Hello and welcome to the first progress report for the Nothing is Scary Demon Rebeat arc. For those of you who haven't been keeping up with the channel, the Rebeat arc is me rebeating every single demon I have ever completed in an effort to get back to where I was after resetting my stats. Why did I reset my stats, you may ask? Because I was leaderboard banned. Did I have to do this? No, I just thought it was a fun idea. And boy was I right, because doing this challenge, rebeating all of the 600 plus demons that I have completed, has been a blast. The amount of stuff that's happened during the Rebeat arc, the amount of opinions I've had change, the amount of surprises that I've gotten along the way has been absolutely incredible. And what's crazy is I'm not even close to done. Why is this progress report number 1? Well, to put it simply, I am not done with the Rebeat arc. This video exists more because I've reached a very major milestone, and I figure it's a good point to make the first major update, if you will. Now, I'm going to be talking about the events of the Rebeat arc and all the stuff that I've been doing in a more narrative way, and I'm not really going to talk about things in chronological order, and the reason for that being, a lot of the stuff I've been doing has been on stream, and I don't want to have to create a timeline of my own Rebeat arc because it's a lot to keep track of, and I've already beaten so many things. I want to talk about the things I've done more in groups and categories and just talk about everything, and as you're going to see when you watch this video, it's going to be a lot more satisfying to watch it that way. As a final disclaimer before we get into this, I do want to say I'm not going to talk about every single level I've completed, and the reason for that is because, well, there's a lot of levels that are really fun and really interesting. They're not really interesting in the context of what this video is, mainly because a lot of the demons I just kind of beat and moved on, and I just had nothing to say about whatsoever. Like, I like I Spy with My Little Eye by Voxicat, for example, but, I mean, I just kind of beat it, you know what I mean? There's nothing more to it, I just beat it and it was done. So there's a couple levels like that I had a bit of a star grindy experience with, where they're just not worth talking about in terms of how the Rebeat arc was affected by them and all that, because it's just a level that I completed, and nothing more. If I don't mention a level, that's probably why. I probably just don't have anything interesting to say about it. But without further ado, let's talk about my progress so far on the Rebeat arc. The way the Rebeat arc started was a bit weird because I didn't exactly know how I wanted to pick the levels. At the beginning, I was using a wheel and spinning for levels at pure random, but I kind of quickly realized that this wasn't a great idea because when streaming levels, you don't really want to stream levels that are like stupidly hard, or at least not for a big project like this. Obviously, if the entire point of your set of streams is to just beat one level, that works, but for a big project like this, you don't want to do the hard stuff first, especially on stream. So anytime I rolled something like Rupture, I just do it off stream anyway, and it kind of defeated the purpose of the wheel. So I stopped doing the wheel, and I just started kind of grinding a bunch of levels out. There are actually still a few levels that I rolled back on those early streams that I just haven't done yet, like Marriage Fraud, for example. It's a random easy demon, and I have yet to beat that. And yes, I'm aware that it's very funny that the level that comes to mind as an example is Marriage Fraud. Don't worry about it. But that's a level I still need to do. There's just stuff like that where I haven't gotten around to it yet, and that's part of the reason I abandoned the wheel. So the wheel ended up being a pretty dead idea, but because of the wheel, I did do a couple hard levels pretty early on. I did Thermodynamics, which is a fucking horrible level. I did Rupture, which I had a lot of fun with, but the three big things, and I decided on this the moment I started doing the wheel, is that I would not include what I called the Big Three. What is the Big Three? To put it simply, the Big Three is my top 3 hardest. Anything below my top 3, Layak and easier, I was pretty confident I'd be able to do and wasn't really nervous or worried about it at all. But specifically my top 3, I was worried and I didn't know for sure if I'd be able to do it because my top 3 was Crimson Clutter, Accu, and Cataclysm. That's the Big Three. And so what I had basically said on stream was that I would immediately start grinding those off stream, and that would be a big focus, is just getting them out of the way right off the bat. I gotta tell you, I was so fucking nervous about these 3 levels. Crimson Clutter and Accu both got narratively driven completion videos where I had like a whole theme and a big like plot, and I tried to make the videos more than just completion videos, and the reason for that is because both of those levels put me through hell in a completely different way. Accu destroyed my mental health, and Crimson Clutter felt like it was driving me fucking insane because of the lack of progress, so obviously rebeating these levels was very intimidating. I had no idea how it was gonna go. And you know what the fucked up part is? I did all three within the same 8-day span of time. All three of these, Cataclysm, Accu, and Crimson Clutter, I rebeat within 8 days. A little over a week. Disregarding every single other word spoken in this video past this point. Just everything. If you pull your mouse up on the computer and look at the time bar, everything to the right of where we are right now does not matter. This is the biggest accomplishment of the Rebeat arc, and I will not be able to dethrone it. I beat 2 extreme demons and an insane demon within barely over a week. And if you disregard Crimson Clutter and only look at the top 2, Accu and Cataclysm, I did them both within less than a week. 6 days. So, yeah, I'm not topping this. This was fucked up. After that, I decided to hard focus on beating a bunch of my 0 out of 10 enjoyments. These are levels that I gave a 0 out of 10 enjoyment score to on the GDDL. And I wanted to do this because I figured getting the bad stuff out of the way first would make the entire Rebeat arc easier on me, and I was right. Now, I actually didn't end up doing a whole lot of the 0 out of 10s, just because, as we're going to be discussing in a second, I would shift gears. However, I got some of the more important 0 out of 10s out of the way. TOE2v2 by Neptune, Forsaken Neon by Zobros, Sirius by Funny Game, Bidu by Jonathan GD, stuff like that. Levels that I just had a fucking miserable experience with on the first go-around. I wanted to get them over with ASAP, and honestly, I kind of crushed these levels. I beat them really quickly, and well, in a lot of cases, I didn't end up enjoying them, as you would expect. There were a small handful of 0 out of 10 enjoyments that I ended up raising my enjoyment score because they went so much better on the Rebeat arc. A lot of these are levels that the thing that I hated about them, now that I'm better at the game, I find it easier to manage the thing that I hate about them, so I just don't hate them as much. I'd say the biggest thing I did when I was doing the 0 out of 10s was Bidu. Bidu, if you don't know, is one of my most miserable GD experiences of all time, because I picked Bidu up all the way back when it was still on the GDDP and wasn't in Legacy, but it took me around 2 years to finally actually beat Bidu. When I was originally beating Bidu for the first time, I had 26 deaths past 87%, with 2 of them being in the final robot. And for those of you who don't know where 87% is in Bidu, that's where the extension starts, because Bidu would be a lot better if it never got the extension, because the extension just makes it so that the hardest part of the level by miles is at the end, and so it just becomes die to the end simulator. As you could imagine, I was not looking forward to having to rebeat this, considering how long the original completion took me. I got lucky on the rebeat. It was fine. I just kind of did it. It just kind of happened, which is the best case scenario, really, because I don't think there's any way I'm having a more positive experience with this than it just randomly deciding to let me beat it. Simultaneously, while doing the 0 out of 10s, I figured that I would start chipping away at the insane demons. They were the next thing I had to do difficulty-wise after all, so I might as well chip away at them. Obviously, I would go from hardest to easiest insane demon, so naturally the first one I tackled was Layak. Layak kind of scared me because, as fun as the level is, it's a pretty hard insane demon, and I was pretty worried that I would be stuck on it for a while. I beat it immediately. Okay. I just kind of did it. Alright, well, next up is Supersonic. Supersonic is a level I was especially afraid of because this is like a pretty shitty XL, and it's kind of weird because it's a level you don't realize is shit until you're roughly about 60% in, you have a 60% progress fluke, and then you realize, wow, that's not really a progress fluke. You just get to the end constantly. This is the most second half heavy piece of shit you'll ever play, and it's just not fun. I beat it immediately. Oh my fucking god, finally. Okay, well, next up is Ado. Ado is the black sheep out of all of my Insane Demon completions because, well, it's Ado. And the thing is, Ado was one of the most recent completions before I started the Rebeat arc, so it was fresh in my mind. Naturally, I beat it without a problem. Thank God. I was scared because it felt like I jumped the triple too early. Super Mario Wave was the first Insane Demon that gave me a legitimate problem, and I still feel like I beat this thing way too fast. Super Mario Wave has this part where it kind of does like the Sonic Wave head hitters, except these little spiky guys that you're doing the head hitters over, they have spikes protruding off their back. All of these are real, so these are like not even fixed hitboxes, these are like super omega extended hitboxes, so this part just doesn't feel good to play. I died here a lot, it got very frustrating, but eventually I destroyed this level too. Rupture is a level that went very weirdly because when I originally beat Rupture, I enjoyed it a ton. This time around I still did, but significantly less so because on Rebeat, I kind of realized just how carried Rupture's difficulty is by the very first ship, in particular this gap where you have to do a really weird adjustment that isn't straightforward. But Rupture also fell extremely quickly. Fucking thank you, Jesus Christ. Sine Waves by Dorami. This one was so fast I don't even remember beating it. Level sucks ass though. It's really bad. It's really bad. But yeah, Sine Waves was extremely fast. Thank God for lucky number 13. Oh my God. Poltergeist by Andromeda. This level is only hard because of 2 clicks, and on Rebeat, I had the 2 clicks consistent. So again, I beat this really quickly. Wow, I fucking destroyed that. That took like no time. 9 minutes, dude? Magma Bound by Scorch VX. This level has a really awful robot at the end. I also beat this one insanely fast. Let's fucking go. I fluked the hard robot click. Windy Landscape by Woogie. I fluked it from the first duel. The moment I got a drop attempt, I beat it. Fucking Christ, that pre-drop annoyed the shit out of me. Classic by Versus. I had an end death, but even then, I beat this one ridiculously quickly. God damn, I already fucking beat it. I've been recording since the first attempt in practice, so how long was that? Less than a half hour, 25 minutes. Sharp Minor by Giron, which is no longer an Insane Demon, but I still included it in the Insane Demon batch. This was a weird one, because for some reason I struggled a ton on the first UFO. I don't remember if that happened when I originally beat it. Once I got the first UFO consistent, which, to be fair, that did take a while, I also destroyed this one. All I had to do was wing it. I was sitting there trying to practice the wave from the beginning, and I couldn't do a run, so I just figured, fuck it, I'll play from 0, and I got it. And finally, Stalemate by Nox. I don't remember beating this one. I legitimately think I had an out-of-body experience beating this one. Thank you. 4 end deaths. I don't know if it was 4 or 5, I actually forgot, but yeah, at least 4 end deaths. So as you probably gathered, I steamrolled through all these insane demons. It took me, like, no time. I'd come up to a level like, say, Supersonic, and I'd dread playing it. I'd be like, ah, this is gonna fucking suck. And then I just kind of do it. It's over. It took me, in a lot of cases, less than 5 hours to do all the insane demons, which just doesn't feel right to me. I destroyed them so quickly, and what's funny, as we're gonna talk about in a second, I actually struggled more with some of the hard demons than I did with the insane demons, which maybe it's because I saw them as a difficulty down, so I underestimated them. I have no idea, but the insane demons, by and large, were easier for me than the hard demons, and that doesn't make much sense to me. Before we move on to the hard demons, I do want to talk about one thing, just something that is kind of on my mind and will not come up for the rest of the series. I am kind of on cloud 9 right now because I feel like I am exactly where I've always wanted to be in skill level. I got into the game basically because of the Riot cyclic competition era with like the race to beat Sonic Wave and all that kind of stuff. Like, I still remember one of the first videos I ever got recommended on YouTube was Cyclic's hacked Sonic Wave footage, like the light blue one. It's just crazy to me that back then I was like, man, I'd never get good at this game. Even back in 2020, 2021, where my hardest, depending on what era you're looking at, ranged from problematic to deadly clubstep, I looked at anything above that as outright impossible. I didn't think I'd ever beat an insane demon, let alone be what would have been a top player back in 1.9, right? And other than the fact that I haven't done Bloodbath, I am kind of rivaling the skill level of where Riot was when I was getting into the game. And that feels so fucking weird. All I gotta do now is beat Ice Carbon, Diablo X, and Bloodbath, and I'm officially the exact skill level that I envied as a kid. And it's crazy, because Riot's better at the game than where I want to be, you know what I mean? Like, Riot has beaten some difficult shit, like Sonic Wave and a Thanatos, and even back during his prime, he was beating stuff like a Bizarre Phantasm, which still doesn't feel like something I'll ever be able to do. But just the simple fact that during the Cataclysm era, I am comparable to where Riot was during the Cataclysm era, that just feels so fucking cursed. It feels so weird, and it doesn't feel right. I'm just imagining if I took my current skill set and I placed me right now in Update 1.9, how fucking jaw-dropped everyone would be in 1.9 if I beat Cataclysm and Crimson Clutter in the same 8-day span. I would have accusations up the ass. Nobody would trust me, because that's just so fucking insane. Like, I know that people don't view these as hard levels anymore. Cataclysm is still, nowadays, considered an entry extreme. No, these levels don't get easier just because the skill ceiling gets pushed. The game didn't get easier, we just started doing harder stuff in it. Knowing that I'm this decent at the game, like, I think I'm actually at a point where I'm comfortable saying I'm good at the game. It just feels weird. It feels so weird. And knowing that I fucking plowed through all of these insane demons within roughly about 2 months to a month, that's wild to me. That's so nuts. The hard demons are where things get a little more bland in terms of the completions. Not completely so, there is stuff that's worth talking about here, but this is where, as you'll notice, there's a lot of levels I'm just not mentioning, because there are levels that aren't really worth mentioning. A lot of the Circles levels, funnily enough, like, I don't really feel the need to talk about Astronaut 13. And also, as much as I love these two levels, I don't really have that much to say about levels like Ultra Drivers and Space Locked either, because a lot of these levels, my opinions didn't change, there was nothing special with the experience, I just rebeat it, and that was it. That being said, I do want to highlight a few examples of levels that are actually interesting to talk about. First of all, let's talk about Sponge. This is a big one to get out of the way right off the bat. Sponge is actually a big part of why I thought that this would be a good idea, because beyond it being good content, I am really fucking good at this level. And you might think, wow, I'm bragging about being good at a hard demon? That's a bit random, but no, you don't understand. Sponge is one of the buggiest levels I have ever played, and I, to my knowledge, am one of the only people that knows how to consistently and repeatedly beat Sponge bugless, which is super fucking difficult to do. And, yeah, this level is a mess, but it's a really fun mess. It's just this weird kind of bullshit that I had a lot of fun trying to work my way around and get to work. But with that being said, with this level being as weird as it is, the leaderboards for this level are hilariously not filled, and I ended up getting into the top 100 on the level's leaderboards because I got all 3 coins. Not a lot of people do that. The thing is, when I originally beat Spunch, I also got all 3 coins there, and I remembered seeing that I would have been on the leaderboards had I have been unbanned, and that was a big motivating factor as to why I decided to do this, because I thought that placing on level leaderboards is actually genuinely fun. And that is something I want to specify here. I still don't care about the global leaderboards, but nowadays there is something fun and endearing about placing on a levels leaderboards. That is really satisfying. Just finding an obscure dog shit hard demon that no one talks about, and then just being one of the first to beat it. There are levels on the servers that have been up since update 1.9 and 2.0 that still do not have full leaderboards to this day, and it's really just satisfying to place your name permanently in the history of the game with levels like that, no matter how small it is. It's just really satisfying to see your name up on that board. Weirdly, I still don't 100% care about placing on level leaderboards. I just don't mind it because I think it's fun, and if it happens, I'm just like, ooh, that's fun, and I go and check the leaderboards and all that sort of stuff. That being said, there are other hard demons I'd like to discuss. Another one is Deadly Clubstep. Deadly Clubstep, when I first beat it, was a huge milestone for me. It was this super difficult thing, and I also thought the level kind of sucked, but that wasn't what mattered to me. There are a lot of reasons that beating Deadly Clubstep meant a lot to me, and it was a massive struggle. So coming around and rebeating this and just fucking destroying it felt so good. And also, it was harder in 2.2 than it was in 2.1 because now there is a 2.2 bug. Coming out of one of the portals, you have to click to throw yourself down, otherwise you clip into the spikes on a structure to the right of the exit of the transition, and it's like this extra click you have to do, and even that didn't add any difficulty to me. It just felt fine. TOE 3 by Manix is one where my opinion has shifted dramatically. I can't believe that I enjoyed this level, that I liked this level. I don't really know how. The original completion, I had so much fun with this, and I don't know how. I must have just gotten lucky and somehow not encountered one of the billions of issues that exist with this level. I just think it's so fucking sad because I had this in my top 10 favorite hard demons. It was one of my favorite levels, and rebeating this, it fell off so fucking hard. And it's not because of 2.2 either. There's just fundamentally bad ideas with this level's gameplay, and I guess I just never noticed. I do still respect this level, and aesthetically, I still think it works perfectly as a Theory of Everything 2 sequel, but man, I do not like this level at all anymore. Of course, there's the Temple series. I have already rebeat pretty much the entire Temple series. I think the only 2 Temple levels I'm missing are Gold Temple, which doesn't count, it's not official, and Fire Temple. Fire Temple is the only one that I haven't redone because it's a medium demon, and so I just haven't gotten to it yet. Aside of that, I've done the rest of the Temple series, and my opinions are pretty much identical. I have no different opinions about the Temple series whatsoever, except for Lava Temple. Oh my god, Lava Temple. Where do I begin? Lava Temple is one of the biggest crash outs I had on stream. Easily. Nothing compares, and I think it mainly comes down to how awful this ball section is. Like, it's just not good. There's a click in particular right here that is just a major choke point, and because 2.2 changed jump orb priority, this click actually managed to get worse. Just a annoying level across the board, and it's kind of funny because I used to think this was one of the best of the Temple levels. I knew I liked Forest and Desert more than this, but I used to consider this one of the best of the Temple levels. Now, I think it's a contender for the worst. I still don't know if I'd put it below Water Temple, but this one is not good. Megalovania by Airswipe was also a very interesting one, because this is, if you don't know, one of my least favorite hard demons, because I view the Gaster Blaster wave section at the very beginning of the level as so much harder than the rest of the level that it drops its enjoyment. It's genuinely not fun to deal with this wave section, because you die there, but the problem is, the stuff after this isn't free, and so it's not a simple fact of you get past it and beat it. It is really hard past this point, and you will likely die. die. I fluked it from the wave, and I beat it in 13 minutes. Wow! What the fuck? The final level that's worth talking about for the hard demon section is Head Rush. Head Rush is a 9 circles level that I originally beat when it was still in its old 2.1 update. It received this very sloppy and strange update where it added a bunch of random glow everywhere. The auto part before the beginning of the wave had red orbs added. It changed it so it used the second drop of the song, and as a result of it using the second drop of the song, it had an extension with poorly placed ground spikes that you needed to practice around, and it's just generally a weird update, and that's what I beat it in. However, by the time I got to it for the Rebeat arc, the update was reverted, and now it's back in the state it was in 1.9, which is really cool, because I think the level is better off as a result. It still sucks. This is still easily one of the worst circles levels. It's so bad. The problem really does come down to these gravity portals, these really, really fast-paced gravity portal clicks. It wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the fact that they come one after another for like 3 in a row, and so you can't really rely on the visuals or the sync. You have to use click patterns and nothing else. And considering the way the rest of the level plays, that just makes it feel like RNG. You know what I mean? Like, it's just this one single part that plays differently and worse than the rest of the level, and I gotta say, I am so glad that in the 1.9 version, it is at the end of the wave, because in the 2.1 update, there was more gameplay after this, and like I said, it had poorly placed ground spikes. So can you imagine getting past the awful gravity portals and dying to filler wave gameplay? On one hand, the update made it better, but on the other hand, it still sucks. As I said, for the hard demons, I took a break from streaming and I took a break from the wheel, but when I came back to streaming, I did 2 very important things on stream. The first is I would grind the 9 circles levels. Like I said, the 9 circles levels I don't really have that much to talk about, but what I will say is that they were very fun to stream, and I am almost done with all of the 1.9 circles levels, so that in and of itself is really, really neat. The other thing I streamed, though, is probably the second biggest milestone I have hit so far for the Rebeat arc, just behind beating all the hard, insane, and extreme demons. And that is, I beat every single easy demon platformer a second time. I have completed every single easy demon platformer, and I did it twice. I even went and beat some levels that weren't part of the Rebeat arc, so I had actually beat them all. And that is really, really huge. I do want to say, as part of this journey, shout out to the live stream where I beat exactly 2 levels, and then just turned around and spent the next 9 hours beating How to Platformer. Yeah, I don't know why I did that, but hey, I was successful in beating it, so it was worth it. But yeah, that pretty much lines us up with where we are today. I have completed every single hard demon, insane demon, and extreme demon. I've done a bunch of 9 circles levels. I've done every easy demon platformer. Now all that's left to do is finish off the map packs, which, as you know, I'm doing those for the map pack series, the gauntlets, and the medium and easy demons. That is around 400 levels left, although I do also want to point out that that's 400 levels easier than the ones I've already done left, so I'm going to be beating them a lot faster than I was before this point. I have to grind EDL levels again from the beginning, which is going to be odd and interesting, but let's just appreciate where we are for now. That'll be something I'll worry about in the future. For now, I just want to appreciate what I've managed to do. This has gone so well, and I'm legitimately happy with the progress that I've made. I will say this too. The other day, I was walking down to this area nearby where I live where you can pick up books and you could just like grab them for free and read them, and the first 2 books I spotted on the shelf was a copy of Still Life by Louise Penny and a copy of The Reckoning by John Grisham. If that isn't a sign that it's time for me to start grinding the gauntlets on stream, I don't know what is. I just wanted to make this quick little progress report, and I hope you all enjoyed the video. This has been a really fun grind so far, and I hope to continue.